Hello, Siri too. I haven't said hi to you. I haven't seen you. I haven't talked to
Hey.
you since month.
Oh, I know. We were like, yeah, we're going to talk more all the time, do all this, and then it's just like, blah, 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 everything starts like we're trying to keep up. Would you guys agree this is a busy time of the year as far as real estate goes? Yeah. Yeah, I love this time of the year and hate
I
it all at the same time.
actually put on my to-do list that next June, the only chore I have is to clean out my sock drawer and no work chores. Because I'm cleaning all my winter socks and I'm trying to find my summer ones and it's a big old mess. And I'm like, okay, next year, the only thing you're doing in June is cleaning out your sock drawer. That's it.
That's funny. Can I just say in California that's not a thing, or at least in San Diego, same socks. But I'm from
It's a
Utah,
thing.
so I get it.
The thing in Minnesota too. You got to put your winter socks away, and you got to get out your summer socks and go through them. And like, yeah,
Right?
really discovered something today. Yeah.
Everything
All
Oh,
else
right.
tips me over. So
That's funny.
all
All
right. Well, I
right. What are
shared
we
the
talking
screen, so
about
I want to show.
today?
Yeah. So, today I think it's a good time because since we are so busy, we were going to talk about, again, just to kind of close out productivity for you as a team and for agents. And I think this is good as even as an agent, and whether you have two people or 100 people, is to talk about doing like a mid-year review. So that is the topic of the day. And I think that typically, the mid-year is after June is complete. And so this allows you to talk about it, make a plan so that you can do this in July. So we're working ahead of schedule. We're assuming the busy work schedule right now with real estate and then just being like a month ahead. So just to answer introductions, my name is Beth Norduane. I run a team in the Minnesota market, in the Twin Cities, and also in the southern part of the state. Uh, I've been in real estate since 2001, had a team since 2010. So I was talking to someone the other day, and that was crazy, 14 years running a team. So I've learned a few things in what works and what doesn't, and different stages from a small team to a medium team to a large team to a mega team. But that's my today's introduction. Miss Siri.
All right. I think I've seen or I know a few of you on here, which is cool. We have some of you on here, but down in San Diego. Beth and I are very similar 20-ish years ago. And so I run a team here called the Brand Realty in San Diego, and it's been an evolution. I'd say I've built my team in the last 7 years, and it's a build. It's a build process. It's gone higher, lower. We've tried things that didn't work. The market changes, and so it's actually really exciting to me. I love change and kind of moving. As much as I don't like change either, but I do like change and navigating it. And so this is really fun to just kind of be on here to go over this stuff with you guys. Um, so yeah, Beth and I, wanted to just really go over just kind of where are we right now and kind of get a pulse on where we can help and what does it look like for us and what does it look like for you guys and encourage everybody to just like chat, like let's chat too. Like let's make this collaborative and get to know each other more.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that is our key topic today. As a recap, we were talking about agent productivity and things that we've done to help our agents be more productive. And again, I think this is something that I would recommend, and I've done it for, I'm going to show you some examples. I've done it for years. I think it's really key in running a team because sometimes I think even quarterly, but if you're ever going to do something, you should do right. Start with business planning with your agents and yourself as your business for your team and also for them, is setting goals and then doing that mid-year review of like, okay, we just got done with typically in most markets, the peak time of the season. And what does that look like halfway through the year? Are you on track? Are you behind? What do you have to do? So we're going to kind of dive in deep to that. Uh, one thing just to kind of talk about who's with us today. If you want to do, I'll put up a question just to I think it's a cool question to start some conversation. Love to know where you're from and what your team looks like, but also as you reflect on the first part of the year, as a leader, as a real estate agent, as a team leader, as a wanting to be a team leader, what have you learned or what's had the biggest impact on your business? So, Siri, what would you say? What have you what if you reflect? Just do some like a little reflection. What about the first part of the year and what's had the biggest impact on your business in 2024?
You know, I would say as far as our team goes, we had a so just relative to myself, but maybe you guys can pick something up from this. We had a kind of a sales manager, so to speak, on our team that ended up moving on to do something else, like honestly completely got out of real estate altogether. I think 20 years in trying to like motivate and manage teams, she just got exhausted. And so that put the a lot of stuff back into my hands and back into on my plate. And at first, to be honest, I had a quick like, oh my gosh, what's going on? I'm going to have to be running some of this stuff again. And usually when those things happen, it just really kind of like kicks me into gear to go, okay, we can make this better. And so what we started to do was we started to really encourage our agents to help each other. And obviously, you have to, as a leader, when you're running a team, you have to, it starts at the top, and the top then trickles down into the message from the top into the next level and then the next level, and it just starts to go down. So, for example, those of you that are real, which most of us are, um, you're going to have Tamir, right? And you're going to have Sharon, and they're going to have these messages. And then from there, they have the advocates or the growth advisors, and the growth advisors or whatever group it is, then they take that message and then they trickle that down. And so, because Tamir, Sharon, those guys, they're not going to be able to do everything. They're just not. And so losing a key player like that, yes, I am a little bit more back involved, which actually is great because I'm back in with the agents, just getting a little bit better of a pulse on things. But our mentor program, for example, we're going to take a look, and we've already started to say, who's the lead mentor over there? Who's going to be in charge of that stuff? Our program leaders, who's the lead program leader? Who's going to be in charge? And then trickle that message down, right? And then you take a look at the agents that you know are kind of on that cuff of they're up and coming. And so then you reach out to them and you entrust the people below to say, hey, what's going on with so and so? Do you think you could reach out to them and help them to pull them up? So it's not me necessarily reaching out to this person down here. It's me reaching out to this person that I can say, hey, what do you see over there? And then they reach down. So I would say that we've had a lot of great things happen from this where we bring the team together to help, and they love it. I will tell you that people generally want to feel needed and they want to feel included. And then, yes, there's some that are going to be paid for some of these. We've come up with some ways to give them some incentive at certain levels, and we all win. So I would say that was a big part of this year, these last 6 months that we've been working heavily on, is getting that message out. It's really cool to watch.
That sounds awesome. That is,
Yeah.
that is a cool outcome from something that was not right. There's always sometimes really good things that come from things that don't feel good in the moment.
Right.
Okay, so to let some other who else who wants to speak on kind of that reflection of what you've learned or what's had the biggest impact on your business in 2024, and also again, if you are starting a team, have a small team, medium, large, or mega.
Hi, my name is Marquita. I'm very new to Real. We got here in April.
Welcome.
We were a small indie brokerage, so about 15 of us. Not a lot. So I am trying to transition in my head to a team from being the broker. So
I was that.
Okay.
And not
feeling like I failed. So some of it's
Oh,
me.
that you failed? Oh,
Yeah.
and not feel like you failed? Oh
Yeah.
gosh, you know what? You have to see it like you are just improving yourself to be better and more available for them. And you're also improving the lives of your agents. You have never failed in that decision. It is one of the best things that I could have done for myself and for the team. I am now not involved in attorney phone calls, and
Yes.
I'm not involved in the logistics of that stuff, which I am not that great at, actually.
Me
Being a
either.
broker is one thing. Okay, yeah, I know it's kind of like our progression between, okay, I'm gonna go get my broker's license, and that's like the next thing to do. And
Mm.
actually, for some, yes. For a lot of us who are generally real estate agent brains at heart, it is not the best next thing. We learn more, great, kudos to us. But now you're going to free your time to be able to do what you should be doing as a leader, and that's helping your team, again, to pull them up. So I hope that truly helps your mindset with that. You're going to be fine. You're doing a great job at coming over.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we just trying to transition from being the broker and transition the agents from calling me for everything.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you can look that up
It's the best
over
gift.
here.
It's the best gift. Yeah.
So we're new. I mean, we had a team before and then we started a brokerage. And so I'm just trying to transition back into the
Yeah.
team leader mindset and figuring out structuring and things like that. So I'm just happy to be here to learn.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. You did it. Yeah. Totally normal, but you're not failing. You got this. Like you're gonna you're gonna be able to pull into your seat and really give back. But yeah, just to kind of make sure that message is clear, keep delivering it with enthusiasm of where they go.
That's right. I love it. I just echo deliver with enthusiasm. You made it this decision for a reason, for the betterment of you and the people that work with you. So that's awesome.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah. Anyone else want to share? Yeah.
Sorry, trouble unmuting. Hi, everybody. So my team and I, Marquetta, I just want to say you're very brave. Thank you for sharing. My team and I came from a small independent brokerage who closed down. So my broker was very upset. Well, he wasn't too upset, but I know what you're going through because I've been watching him go through it. But he's a team leader at Real now, so he's getting kind of back into that whole thing. I'm a brand new team leader. I started my team back in October of last year. So we were getting up and running. I had 4 girls plus myself. You know, we were doing it at our independent brokerage. And then all of a sudden at the end of April, they closed down. So as of May 1st, we all came over to Real. So I was finally getting some things done. We were getting our traction. And it's like when you switch brokerages, you have so much new stuff to learn. You have all the what do we call this? Not our atmosphere. Our culture is incredible. So we went from one great culture to another great culture. So that was absolutely seamless. It's just feeling like you kind of hit a wall when you have to, thank you, Marquetta, relearn everything. We're relearning this whole new brokerage. Like it's a lot, and I want to really
Yeah.
get the processes down. I really want to make sure that I'm motivating my girls. I have a team of 5 girls now. It's great. So there's me and 5 girls. It was not intentional, but girl power.
Mhm.
So keeping them motivated, keeping them productive, and just showing they all know I care. This is my life. I live, eat, breathe real estate. So they get that out, from osmosis from me. But to keep them accountable is really why I wanted to be a part of this group, because I know you all seem incredible. You're going to teach me a lot. So I'm excited. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, no, it's cool. Like, you're here with them, helping them, and then you need support groups too. We all do. We all do need support groups to go, I am losing my mind a hot minute. Is
Yeah.
everybody on the same page, or is this just me? Right, Beth?
Yeah,
We've
I'm
had
kind of
those
losing it.
conversations.
Oh yeah, you do. You always do. And the more you get it just, it feels like, "Oh, where can I share this or where can I say this?" And maybe this isn't, I mean, we share certain things here, but it's also on workplace and
Yeah.
but it is, it's great to
Yeah.
have those groups and those connections and build it. And then, like you said, Christine, I'm really excited about today because, these are tools like that we talk about that are tried and true and like literally work are in key ingredients to just that team cookbook if you put it together in a book format of what it would look like. So that's awesome.
For sure. Thank you for sharing that.
And anybody else wanna say
Or say
what they've
anything to
learned,
others who have, yeah,
reflect,
or
yeah, another impact.
yeah.
So I'm a single agent, solo,
Hello.
solopreneur, and my goal is to, like, in joining the call today specifically, is to figure out how I can be the best sponsor for somebody who will be bringing over a team. And I just want to thank you for hosting and gathering all these great minds of those who have gone before my dear friend who's going to come over, and those who will come after. And so I love hearing, and I want to just thank everybody for being so vulnerable and showing up in this call and playing full out and just telling it like it is. So that's what I am doing here. So I am listening and writing and feeling for all of you. And my goal, my personal goal is, I just need to get regular business flowing in so that I can then figure out what quote unquote building a team will look like. But until I'm in that space of production, really, I'm just keeping on my head about why I'm here and how I will best serve as, as a sponsor for this person.
I love that. That's a
Yeah.
cool perspective. I mean, that's a huge give back that you care at that level. So for the people that you're sponsoring. So thanks for attending and sharing that. And I think that today specifically will definitely help you as well. Like I said, and help anybody. This is literally for every single person who's in productivity or running a business. This is legit. So that's awesome. Good to have you. All right, I'm gonna try and find a worksheet while we have one other person, then I'm ready to kind of go and I'll run through some stuff. But anyway, I mean, everyone can share if anyone else wants to say same thing, something you've learned this year, biggest impact you've had.
I think Tony learned tacos. Tony learned tacos. I keep looking at the hat. It's a cool hat. All
Okay,
right,
I'm actually having, Brenna, I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna go, but do you want to, you go into Canva for me? And I made just that when I have them, when I'm ready, I just made those 2 worksheets. One's for the agent and one's for like the team leader. They're in, if you can find them. They're called mid-year review. The 2
I'll look at
I did.
them. My screen sharing is disabled, but I'll make sure you have them on your end. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay. Well, let's kind of dive into that's just has been on my day has been today. Like when I'm trying to find it on the fly and it just is way more complex than when you're just sitting there pulling it up. But okay, we're just going to review, like I said, some best practices. And I think that when we have a mid-year review, it's one of the things as a team leader is kind of transitioning that thinking into like, number one is like, okay, what is best practice for me as the leader running the business, for the team in general? And having a mid-year review for that. And then also like, there's a way that you could look at this for your agents. And for the agent part is also like, if you are producing, it's for you. If you have agents, if you're, like you said, a solopreneur, this is a great time to just kind of reflect. And this is how I really believe is if we're doing a business plan and we start out and we feel like, okay, this is going to be a year. I've got these goals. We've got New Year's resolution. It doesn't matter if it's a piece of paper, if it's a comprehensive plan, but you have, Sharon's 1-pager. But really what it is that you get to this point and you're feeling one way or the other. I'm hitting it. I'm not hitting it. I'm having a great year. I'm having a terrible year. I'm having an okay year. But if we don't stop and reflect and just kind of reassess and how do we move forward, then you're just winging it for the end of the year. And sometimes it's just is a really awful place to be. I always say to an agent that You can't do anything about it really. When you get to September and October, like it's done. Like you just chalk up the year for whether it's a loss, and you should just probably start planning for the next one. Because by the time you start working with somebody and they, go into escrow or write a contract, go pending, whatever the language is, and get to closing, that's probably, you're lucky if you get one in a 30-day. It happens, but it might be 60 days. So trying to make kind of monumental changes at that point is pretty tough. So this is a perfect time to really, I see this, and the way it's worked in the team is when I started doing this, I started seeing better third and fourth quarters. And it's just kind of refocusing, recentering into this next part of the year. Without it, it just is kind of, people start enjoying summer. There's really nothing to come back. They don't really have a plan. They're going off of either a high, feeling like, wow, I'm really doing well. Everything is great. I'm tired. I'm going to take my foot off the gas and I'm just going to kind of coast. And it's not like an intentional thing, but it happens. Or I had a crappy year. I'm just going to go into a hole and enjoy summer, and I'll figure it out in the fall, which, like I said, is kind of too late. So essential ingredients, however you decide to do this and putting it together, is just like we did. That is a great exercise to do for yourself. I love doing that. And even with a group of agents, with your employees, with your assistant, with your team, is just to reflect, hey, what's gone really well this year? What's worked? What hasn't? What have you learned? What do you think has been the biggest impact on us as a business or as a team or as agents or in sales or all of that? And I think that's really a huge thing. The second thing is like a lot of times, what this whole thing is just that people understand, like, why are we doing this after we reflect? What's the point? And I think it's really just is to make that commitment, right? It's like sometimes there are days, there are months, there are moments where you need to like recommit to like what you're doing, right? I mean, there's a lot of people on this call that they made a change and it's more just like, okay, you know what? No, I am committed to this. I'm going to make this happen. So then what adjustments do I need to make? And let's map out some plans for change. And then I love when you have someone to talk to, because like, do you have the time available? Are you stretched too thin? Do you need leverage? Are you looking at like what you're committed to? And is it something, especially as women, and I'll just speak for women, and maybe some men, but you have too much, right? That's the biggest thing I've learned, is like what I'm trying to accomplish is Herculean, and it probably just isn't going to happen. So again, just to take a moment and just pause and talk about that. I always want to, but Serri, I'm sure you can say like just that recommitment or adjustment, or if anybody has anything, is that something you do as a practice or with your people?
Yeah. So let me just speak on this a little and break it down a little bit more and give you guys some ideas of what we do. And it's been a progression of how does this work best, but this is what we do. So throughout the year, and again, this could be just yourself and just having check-ins. Put it on your calendar. So good, make sure it's on your calendar, right? I'm assuming everybody uses a calendar, and just, right now or today or whatever you learn from this, write down in a book and then put it on your calendar. But what we do is we have touch points every week. So again, this is a little higher level if it's just yourself. You could do it every week or however you want to do it. I do know some individuals who do it every like Sunday night. They kind of just look at their week, see how things are going, just kind of a review. So we, though, with our operations every week, we use Slack, and in the Slack channel, our operations will actually put in what they've done for the week, what their biggest, and Liv, correct me if I'm wrong on the cadence of it, but what they've done for the week, what their biggest stuck or challenges are, and then what they're working on for the next week. And they put that in Slack. Did I cover everything? I think. So it's accountability for the operations. I can see what's going on. And I'll just say, and this is kind of our progression, we did at one point have it where we met on Zoom and we did this whole thing, but we're really trying to get away from like, that's not really conducive of time. But at the same time, I wanted to know what they were doing. They wanted to know if I had any notes on it, blah, blah, blah. So that's one thing that we started to implement. I'll say we were doing quarterly we were doing quarterly reviews of the business, and we actually have moved it now to twice a year, with the end of the year being a big one. So kind of our review right now that we're doing a mid-year review, we'll do a mid-year and then we'll do an end of the year. And the end of the year will be bigger, obviously, than the mid-year. And the reason we stopped doing quarterly was because we had things in place where we were starting to catch these things weekly instead. And we didn't really need that. And if we ever feel like we do, we'll put it in together and we'll find some time to do it otherwise. So again, how can we conducively save our time? And so we have the end of the year, and then we have mid-year where we will get together, but we really keep on that. Then on top of it all, we do have weekly meetings with each department. And again, back to like, you're in charge of this, you're in charge of this. So example, I'm in charge of Liv marketing team. I meet with Liv every week, and then Liv has VAs. She gets on with her VAs every week and delivers the message down. This morning I was on with her and her VAs, and I haven't really been on for a while, but I did get on just to kind of like reiterate some messages of, hey, we need you guys to do this. But you can see how all that trickle effect, we have it in our calendar. We know when everybody's meeting at what time. And the operations team knows that they need to get their updates in every week on a certain day by a certain time. And so then you start to cover your track so that by the time you get to this mid-year review or the end of the year review, it's just really a big pulse check. You're not going, what in the world just happened? So hopefully that helps to give you guys some ideas of what we do personally to be able to implement those things.
Yep. So I would say, I'm going to show you some examples as well, what we do. I think that starting with, you yourself in the business and kind of like when you're jumping in meetings and just kind of doing this assessment of where am I at, where are we at, what's going on, and then being able to have that with the agents and communicate it, and then through kind of the end of the year as well. So sometimes too, a lot of this was interesting because, when I built it for agents, but then when I started thinking about it, like there's a lot of times where, like I said, it was kind of like, man, I kind of need to be recommitted, or I need to be adjusted, or like I need to get
We're
on the
agents
same
at
page,
heart.
of
Yeah.
what I'm doing and what everybody else is doing. Because one of the things is whether you're leading any sort of group is that just all kind of being on the same page is really powerful. Like your position, your seat on the bus, but it is a really big deal. So I'm gonna keep going through the list for continuity of, like, this is a process that you go through when you're thinking about your business, when you're thinking about your team, when you're thinking about the people you're trying to help. And then I'll kind of show some examples of what that looks like for the agents as well. And so, like we said, it's just kind of starting with that outlook on yourself of committed and adjustment and what you need to do. And then the next one is marketing. It's a great time of year. In the beginning, this is like an early change that, and again, maybe some of this you're doing, and I congratulate you if you are, but it was so easy to take those phone calls. It was so easy if there's shift in the market or an agent wants something to just start, doing marketing and spending and trying things. And if you don't ever stop and evaluate what's working, it's tough to make business decisions. So sometimes, like, just it's a great time of year because it's a little more quiet too, to think about, like, where am I spending dollars on marketing? Is it on video production? Is it on listings? Is it on leads? Is it on programs? Everything. Is it on print? Is it whatever you're doing? And just to think about, after the first part of the year, what are the outcomes from it? Was it performing? Did it perform for you? Do you need to make adjustments, right? What % of your budget are you spending? Another thing that, to run a team, like we're running a business, is when I set a marketing plan for the year and I set a budget, I set it based on the agent's goals and what we think we're going to do, right? So when you get to this time of year, you have a pretty good indication. If you don't have 60, 70% of your income, you might need to make some changes, right? Because if you look at that % of the budget and the revenue isn't there, or with all the things in the future, the unknowns, like the commission dollars, et cetera, If those things aren't on track, again, it just leads to non-profitable businesses, potentially not doing a team. And these are things we're trying to save. So it just gives feedback too. Do the agents care? Do you care? Is it working? Is it not? Once you kind of look at that, I think it's also before you even get into kind of goals and sales is just like, okay, what do we need to do more of? So at that point, it's like, what's working really well? What should we really pour into? What do we need to do less of? Because there's a lot of stuff I get, you know, especially if you are an entrepreneur, you have ideas, you get excited, you start creating things and coming up with things, and we should do this, or you say it on a whim. And sometimes it's like, it's not the best thing to put everyone's time and energy into. So is it maybe something you need less of, or even potentially stop? And that is such a freeing thing. And I didn't do that for a lot of years, but to just think about, we used to actually do it every quarter, which maybe was a little excessive, but it was kind of fun to be like, is there anything we need to stop? And it was amazing, the list of things for quite a while that like we really didn't need to do. And I can tell you that if you have intentions of growing at any substantial side outside of like 3 people, you can get really complex really fast. And so sometimes just stopping things is a really good habit to get into, and starting as little as possible. I'm just gonna pause. Serri, anything you want to say? You're like, oh.
I'm laughing. I know I was on mute, but you like heard me. No, like more humans create more like, oh, I got to fix that. That doesn't work all of a sudden. So as you're growing, like what might have worked for like this level, then all of a sudden it just doesn't work anymore. So you're always growing and creating. Are you guys finding that? Like those that have like teams? Or you're creating and then you're removing stuff too. You're like, I'm done with that. Let's nix it. We're good.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Want a lot of that.
Yeah.
And getting rid of the stuff nobody's using. I'm like, why am I paying for that? You're not using that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a person who
And
does
how
that
do
all
we
the
do that?
time. Yeah, she was crazy. She
Yeah.
goes through and she's like, no one's done this, Jill. Like, she's always like, what is
Yes.
this? And like, can we cut this? And like, nobody's using it. But it's great that you have those people. Because like you said, the more people
Yeah.
or you empower people to make decisions or fix things, people start doing stuff. And pretty soon you're like, we're doing what? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna
my husband does
call
that
out.
for our team.
yeah.
He does it? Great. So you have
Yeah.
it. I'm gonna call out my bestie here, Liv, on the team, who's my marketing girl here. She loves shiny objects and I love it too. And so sometimes we'll buy these shiny objects and lo and behold, it's like $15 a month. No big deal. Until there's like how many? Like $20, $15 a month. And we're like, wait, what? We're not even using that. Why do we need it? Delete. And you
Yeah.
have to have things in place or people. Go ahead, Liv.
Oh, no, it's true. It's like, it's so easy. And I mean, I think those subscription-based plans are like just built for people like me who are like, oh, let me just try this out. And then it just starts running in the background. And then it's like a year later, it's like, hey, we were spending $50 a month on this. Did anybody use it? And it's like, holy shit. No,
No.
we didn't.
Yeah.
So luckily we have Keely, who's always coming through the budget.
Yep.
She'll message
Keely's
me and
like
she's
Jill, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Keely's our director of ops, and she's like, what is this program? Are you using it? And you know, sometimes I'm like, yes, I use it every day, don't touch it. But it's always good to check in. She's always coming through that stuff and double checking
Yeah.
expenses, 'cause
And at first it's going to be you. It's going to be you, you know, when you're at a certain level. And granted, I'm on some of the P&L meetings, which they have every month. We didn't have that at first. But they're on, and sometimes I'm on now and then, but I was on every month with my eyes rolled back in my head. And I remember them going, what is this $5? And I was like, I don't know. I bought a coffee. Like, what did I do? I don't know. Like, you know, it is actually great to have people that are in there to dissect what you're actually spending. And at first, like I said, that's you. And man, us real estate agents do not like that kind of stuff. Or if you do, kudos to you. But most of us real estate brains are like, okay, this is not fun. And then and if it's not fun, you hire someone. You really should leverage in some way, shape, or form, whether it's a VA, your husband, whoever it is. Find some help to do what you're not good at, but you're going to lose money and you're not going to be able to progress if you don't have that in place. Yeah, long answer, but there you go.
My coach taught us a trick. Every 6 months, we lose our credit card.
Oh, yes. That's the best thing, right? Because you're
Yeah.
like, all these subscriptions stop. Yeah, I have to go back through. I love that.
Yeah, that is a good tip. It is, so it is, sometimes like, I think even those simple things are really profound, right? Like something that is, as simple as just asking those questions to yourself, your small group or whomever you want is powerful. So, another thing with mid-year, when you are looking at, again, we're still in the business, is your goals, like what you wanted to do, what the group said they wanted to do. Have you achieved it? Are you on pace? Are you short? Is anybody over? Like, I'm not this year. Is anybody? The market has shifted so much that like, it's like, did anyone raise their hand? I think I didn't see it. Anyone over? Okay. These are why these things become really important, you guys, because when the years where it's over, it's really fun. And you know, yes, it matters because you could have had that money and it is really important to have it to go forward. But in these years, this stuff makes or breaks groups. But looking at the sales, looking at personally, are you personally achieving your goals? Are you achieving goals on the team? I was talking today, I had a leadership meeting and had everyone present on everything they've been working on, just so we're on the same page. And I said, man, I love when Tom Ferry always used to talk about the doing, done board, because from my position, I'm always in this, like everything that still needs to be fixed and everything that is quote unquote wrong. And it was amazing to hear everything and remember all that was done and all the progress that we've made. And so that is really huge. But looking at those projects and you personally is really important. You are such an integral part of this business. And that was a lesson I took like pretty much breakdown to learn is like, if you don't take care of yourself, the whole thing can potentially just like come undone. So it's really important to take stock of your personal self too. Training, like where do people need training? I think every single agent, every single person needs training on their value, on their worth, on their commission, on having those conversations with buyers. Like, I mean, sometimes other years you may see, here's our pain point, here's what we need to focus on, here's what we should do this last half of the year. But for every single person today, that's what we all should be doing. And then looking at your customer experience, which again is more important than ever, of like, what is that person or that client that ends up working with your team or your brand? What are they experiencing? What is it like? What are you offering? What is your value? All of those things are important. In a lot of years in the beginning, and not that it still isn't important, but it was so formative in the beginning, is your brand. Okay, so as you work on your brand and in the beginning, is it clear? Is it compelling? Is it consistent? Is it where you want? Do you need to change anything? That was such a growing pain for a long time. I feel like it took 10 years to get to the side of like, I'm super clear on who we are, who we're for, what we're about, what we do, our values, like it's nailed down. But it took 10 years. There was a lot of years where it's like, yeah, this is, I don't know, this feels off, or maybe this isn't quite right. So I think it's a good time for a lot of you, if you're in this transition period, if you're in a new period, to think about your brand. Profitability is really important. I always, anytime I get an opportunity to say it, I always love to say, as much as we all love helping people and pouring into people and wanting other people to be successful, at the end of the day, we all only have so much time, energy, effort, and you should be doing this for a profit. You're taking on a lot of risk. You're taking on a lot of energy and time, and unless, I mean, it might seem like fun for a short while, but like it really should be something that is running like a business. And then we're going to talk about like a CEO report card. So I'm going to stop that share. I'm going to show you some examples of things that I've done. I'm going to show you a couple things I created that I think will be helpful for you guys and your team if you want to use it. But any questions on those 8 things before we move on? All right. Okay, here we get kind of. So I want to show, because I think it's helpful to see how are some ways that you can do this. So hopefully you can see on my screen. Just let me know. Okay, that's not what I want to share. You're just seeing my screen, right? My screensaver. Okay, how do I get 1 second? Share. I have it open. There we go. Okay. Now I think we're seeing the right screen. Yeah. So can everybody see it okay? Because I'm not going to do the present mode on this, but I'm happy to share any of this stuff. And I'm going to just try to expand it a little bit. Okay, can you guys see that okay? Thumbs up. Yeah, looks good. So it's as simple as, here's some options. You can make a quick, easy, you can tell I did this. This isn't fancy. This isn't pretty like the cookbook slides, so and Brenna, but it's just making a slide deck, having a meeting. And, just, I always think it's good to talk about behaviors. Anytime you have a meeting of like, hey, when we're getting together, one of the things I want you to do is I want you to be open-minded. I want you to really be inspired to come from a place of like curiosity. What happened this year? Where are you going? But I think it's good to set the tone. That's what I mean by kind of the behaviors of the group. Let's support each other. Let's be a safe space to share. Let's be vulnerable. Like anything that you feel like you need to say to your group. I always think it's good to start out with some sort of activity. Then you do the formal mid-year check-in, kind of get some updates. Like this is a perfect time of year. And one of the things I think like Serri said is a habit that took a while to get into is a lot of times like we're running the team, maybe we're still producing, and we aren't necessarily like thinking about like the business and communicating, but people need to know what you're thinking. Like maybe your employee does or your assistant does, but like even like some of you that talk about that head of brokerage that are coming over as a team, they need that from you. We need stability. We need to know the vision. We need to say like, hey, this is where we're at, State of the Union, whatever it is, like this is where we're going. And it can be simple, but it's a great time to get everybody on the same page. And there's a lot of power in that. So again, I won't read all these slides to you, but you can see there's questions that I want to ask themselves. We've done it this way. I think it's important to refocus time, especially remember if you do this ideally in July at some point, getting people refocused or at least have a plan for when they come back from maybe enjoying some summer holidays and vacations. Thinking about improvement. I think it's a good time to have your assistants talk or do a presentation or anything that is needed there to talk about marketing. And here's an example of some kind of at this year, we talked about what is Enclave as a whole, like the meetings. What we did last year was really try to get clear on like the career path that was available within, and I can't see the last one. And we changed our comp plan, which was a big deal. So that was that year. Every year it might be different. It could be programs, it could be exciting updates and changes, but really for your team and as you grow, it's trying to do as little change as possible. So as a brand new team or when you're starting or transitioning, we've talked about the Serri 9 past cookbooks is trying to get as many things that you can grow into and you don't have to change because change is really hard on people in general and especially agents. Another example, like sometimes I actually changed the last one that you saw to a more current year, but this was one too, where I just want to show you what it looked like for me. This was my agenda where I just talked about that intention. That's kind of that behavior piece, right? Where I wanted to talk about what they should do with their phones. Like, let's be present. You're investing in your business. This is, whatever, an hour and a half, 90 minutes, 2 hours of time. I talked about being vulnerable and rabbits and turtles. Rabbits are like, number one, just like in team, it just happens a lot, right? Rabbit means like someone says something, it's a trigger and it becomes like you go down a rabbit hole, right? And people just start talking and you're like, okay, that's not the point. But again, as you grow, just keeping everybody on track and centered and focused is a skill. And the other one I talk about is turtles, where turtles are someone, I'm sure you've had that agent who tells a story and then you're like, okay, this is an hour and a half meeting and we're 15 minutes in, right? So sometimes just up front being respectful of like time. So one of the things that was cool last year is like, you can see we did an activity, it was called like a pre-mortem, but it was a really cool one where it was like, okay, we're at the end of the year and we're looking back at the year. And we're thinking about, this is kind of what it looked like. I leapt forward in time and I found that we failed spectacularly, right? We didn't reach our goals. It didn't get any better. But we had everybody on sticky notes, right, about like why that happened. And we wrote these failures and we kind of had each then group present their main most common theme that they felt was a failure. And then we talked about how we're going to overcome that and what that's going to look like for the end of the year. But I think these team groups, there's card decks you can buy, you can Google this stuff. I mean, just having that activity is really cool. But just having like this an agenda, I just want to show you this. And again, happy to share anything if it's helpful to see. But I do every year now almost try and share kind of the vision and mission of where I'm leading and kind of what I'm thinking. And we talked about that. This was really fun. I gave directions on how to ring a buzzer, but we gave cash prizes, and the more complex they got, they had to ring it and they would get $10. Again, this isn't big. It's like a $10 gift card. Maybe it's a Caribou or Starbucks card, $20. And then we had $5, but, went through all these questions, and this was really eye-opening the year I did this, where it's like, who can tell me how many appointments they have? Who can tell me how many transactions they closed? Like, I'm sure even if I asked you guys, right, too, and I mean, I'm not saying even myself, I trust me, there is questions I would not be winning, but I think that it was really fun. And then we kind of did some, like you said, the leaderboard, and gave out some prizes in the middle, and then name 3 sources from your business plan, just again to see if they were even using them, using goal setting. But that was a really fun. I thought that was fun that year we did that. Just takes a little extra planning. This is for you. This is a sheet this is kind of what we talked about today that I'm happy to send out, or we'll put it in with this class in Workplace or in the Knowledge Center so you can access it. But these are kind of what we went through, and just it's a worksheet that you can look at and some questions to kind of evaluate where you're at. And then this is one that I have for agents that I think is you can say, what was your most important goal for the year? And this one's more on conversations, appointments, unit goals, their expenses. I mean, again, you can make your own from this, but happy to share that as well. Part of when I do coaching, some of it is a CEO report card, which again, I think is an awesome way to look at and rate yourself of like, where am I at? It can feel really disheartening, and it can feel like, wow, I have a lot of work to do, but to remember it might be a 10-year journey, but just kind of where would be the next best step to place some time and effort on where you should focus. But that was kind of a lot. And I know I went through it really quickly, but also wanted to leave some time for Q&A. So for Serri and I, if you guys have any questions, anything you want to discuss, it can be about media review or teams in general. But
So one of the questions in chat, and then Brenna answered, but just to put it out there, did you do this meeting with the whole team or individually? Answer: as a team, some individual reflection and small groups mixed in. So how did that look? It'd be good to just see, like, how did you do that? Like, was it on Zoom, in person? How long did you do it? I think you said an hour and a half, 2 hours. Like, break it down.
Yeah, I think it depends on the size of your team, right? So I've done this for so many years that, right, when you have a big group, that's one of the things is I think what's evolved at the size that we are now is we have something called pods, which you think about, it would be like the small team today, right? So this might be something that the small team does, and the big group becomes more, that's where it kind of evolved into. In person is ideal, right? I mean, you could do it on Zoom, depending on location, and maybe more just asking some questions. It's hard to get engagements. I mean, on a Zoom, even if it's your team, if it's your people feel like, I don't want to speak in front of 30 people. I don't want to be vulnerable, where we can do that. And so the biggest thing today is breaking it into small groups, like, right, so that you always maintain. There's a book called Scaling Up that I based as like kind of one of those foundational books for a lot of what I've done. And they talk about, you should always be able to share a pizza. If you can't share a pizza, your group is too big. So if you have a big group, then it's like, break them into small, so that I have space to talk, I have space to share, I have space to get feedback. But that's kind of what it looks like. So if we're in person, we break into small groups. But over time it was more smaller. And does that answer it? Am I not answering it? You know how you get talking and then you're like, wait,
Where did I go?
Whoa.
No, that helps.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that was like a journey of like 10 years in my head. I see us in small offices, and I see us playing games, and I see us like, yeah, but like that did not maybe make sense coming out.
I got it.
What were you saying? Oh, Christine, I can't hear you.
Sorry, it
Oh.
sounds like something I can do with myself and 5 agents, but if I have 10
Yeah,
agents, you're probably gonna
you'll
want to
break
split
it.
that in half. Yeah, into a pod. Yeah,
Totally.
totally get it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've been looking for a way to do our mid-year reviews, and this is it.
Great. I'm glad I
Cool.
can help. Yeah. I will say for me, the most powerful years, as you've learned, is when it's small and intimate and you've got those relationships. I do think that you can all just sit and just talk about business and what's working and what's not and how do we go forward. As we've gotten larger, I think it's a lot more building that community. And so sometimes we've had a lot more fun with some of the game stuff, but then finding those spaces where you have that more intimacy of like, man, this year's not working. And there are people that they're doing this journey with and they feel safe with and they're at the same stage with. It's not fun to be a new agent and be in a group with somebody who's like killing it 5, 10 years in, and you just feel like a failure, right? I mean, that's really tough. So then it shifts to like, hey, who knows this? Well, how can I level the playing field is always my goal when you have a 10 and you're going to get together. How do I level the playing field and ask questions that if you're new, you should be able to answer it. And if you're tenured, you should be able to answer it. But we all can win and we can all have some fun together and point out some like, okay, because I think the biggest form of accountability is like that self-accountability, like sitting in a group and watching someone be able to answer who's new, how many deals they've done or how many conversations or appointments they've gone on, and like someone who like can't even answer that and they're 5 years in, or they're not hitting their goals and someone is. That's enough to say like, man, I better like kind of recheck myself and see if I need to make some adjustments. And my goal ultimately, from my vantage point, is like at this point is just to get everybody like committed, right? Committed to like what we're all trying to do and committed to the vision and like why do we all get together and like why are we doing this, right? I mean, whether it's to have fun, whether it's to be better and to give something back, something aligned to all of you to be a group. And I think that's a really good thing to have that recommitment.
Beth,
So groups within groups as you grow. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, people might be wondering with the agent worksheets, if you send them out to the agents beforehand to fill out, or it just in the
That's a
moment?
good question. Yes, that's so important. So another key thing I learned over time is how important it is, just like you sat and prepared for whatever you're going to do, that they have time to prepare as well. So when I do business planning, for example, and we'll talk about it this fall, even in a team cookbook, but let's talk about mid-year planning. I would actually break it down into like what I want them to look at, even do like a quick video or homework for the week and then send it to them in bite-sized pieces over the next few weeks. And then let's all get together and review it and we can workshop it. That's one version. I mean, there is a version where you get together, and if you get together, at least give them the benefit, because the pushback is like, well, I don't know, or I don't have my numbers, or I don't have my computer. So either giving an email of everything they need to be prepared that day, or saying, hey, this is just vision planning, brainstorming version 1.0, and then you're going to go back to your groups and you're going to solidify it and make a solid plan for the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. Other?
I have I'm going to throw out an idea just to kind of like get, so because you were talking about how you've got all kind of demographics in the room. So just speaking on you guys do this, right? So whether it's you leading 5 or you leading 3 or you leading whatever it is and you have pods. One of the things I saw the other day, I was on a Zillow call for Zillow Flex, and they started the meeting by the guy that was leading it with Zillow Home Loans said, "Hey, we're going to play this game, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, and then we're going to go around, and then you're going to tell us a little bit about you, and you have to say one thing that is like no one would guess about you." And there was a couple in there. I remember one was like this black belt in karate. It was this lady that you would never, ever imagine, right? And this other one was, he played in a rock band. I had no clue. And I'll tell you, it didn't matter because I had new agents on that call with that meeting, whatever it was. I had no idea. I personally had no idea about some of this stuff with the agents on my team. And they took about the first 10, 15 minutes and everybody just went around and said that. And then from there, everybody just opened up and we were good. So that's just, it was a fun little technique, but start with you first. Start with you and be vulnerable and say something, and then have them open up. And then that way you can get their attention. This is, I mean, this is just meetings in general, but it was something fun. So if you guys are thinking about doing this mid-year review, I think it's a good way to kind of ice break everybody, to loosen up a little bit.
One more question, that'll wrap it up. But I just think, again, the goal from a sales driving vantage point is always, and especially with realtors, it's so easy to get distracted. It's so easy to be in the wrong mindset. It's so easy to be scared about things that are coming up, and whether they're saying that or not. I don't think there's any, I've realized, especially in the last year, with everything that's coming, there isn't enough times I can't say, like, we're going to be okay. We're going to figure this out. Like, you are valuable. What side of this are you going to be on? Are you, because again, a lot of people feel like it's a race to the bottom or whatever's going to happen, right? There's so many things that people have that are value, that are taking this and are committed and are serious and want to trend the market and want to be great agents and use tools and show up and run a business. But from the sales perspective, is keeping everybody engaged, keeping everyone in the right mindset, keeping everyone focused, keeping everyone knowing what they should do. We live in such a distracted world that is such a gift to give to people, is like, where am I at? And like, where am I going and what am I supposed to be doing? So I think some of these things are so impactful, way more than they used to be. It kind of used to be something just to kind of, yes, obviously there was value in it, but I see way more value today in verbal feedback, saying like, that was so helpful. Like, I just feel so lost, or I just don't know, or I get so off, track, and I just feel like grounded and I know what I need to do. And I want every single person on my team to never be in a question state of like, I don't even know what happened, or I don't know how I got here, or I don't know why I'm not reaching my goals or successful. So, I don't want someone to feel that way. I want them to know, okay, I didn't, but here, I know what I did. Like, I know why. And so again, I think just coming from that state, these are those things that are really important. So however you do them, there's lots of ways to, like, it's like I said, whether it's a game, it's a fun, it's questions, do something. And it's just, remember, it doesn't need to be elaborate. This is, like I showed you, I don't think anything I showed you was elaborate, but it started, many, many years ago. And sometimes what Serri and I show you is, like I said, a 10 or 14-year version of it. So just doing the simple act of it is such a gift to everybody. We are off for July because it's summer. Oh,
yeah, I was going to bring that up. Yeah, no July. And I think you all know too that we're only doing this once a month now. We were doing it too. We're doing it once a month first. So it'll be the first Wednesday of every month. That's just when we do it. No July. And so I'll just pin it up, you guys. So end of summer, you guys. I hope everybody has an amazing summer. Reach out to us if you ever need anything in the meantime. But August is going to be, how do I get out of production? And for some of you, you're like, well, that sounds beautiful, amazing. I can't wait to do that. I'm not quite there yet, but I do think it's important to figure out if that's a goal of yours, is to get out of production. What does that look like? I will tell you, I've gotten out and now I'm back in with a fury. I'm having the best time ever. But I'm going to be leading that one, and obviously Beth will be complimenting. But how do I get out of production? Because I've done it, and I was like kind of slightly bored, and I was like, let's go. I'm going to go get back in. But I'll go over how that looked for me. So, yeah, you guys have an amazing summer, and we'll be back the first week of August, which I guess is still technically summer, but the rest of it, you guys enjoy. Thank you for joining.
Bye. Thank you all.
bye. Thank you. Have a great summer.
Yeah, thank you too.
Have a
See you
good summer.
guys.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Thanks so much. That was awesome.
Yeah, you're
Appreciate
welcome.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Looking forward to the next one. Is there a group in workplace that to track this, or do I track through the two of you ladies?
Yeah, we definitely put it in workplace. We put it's on the main page and we put it in our state groups. I mean, we'd send out an invite. So like, if you want, we get the invite list, I'll add you. We try not to spam people, but we will if you want to be updated when it is. And
Spam
Oh,
me
yeah.
for sure.
okay, okay. Thanks,
I
Jill.
greatly appreciate it, and I'm gonna share it with Donna, because my guess is she'll be over before month end. And we'll see who from her team may or may not be joining, but this is great, and I look forward to sharing it with her as a mid-year to see what she's doing anyway. So it's the perfect, like the timing could not have been better. So